Hello there. Welcome to Sword Fight Garage Band. Today I want to talk about utilizing a Pell and getting some practice in when you're at home. One of the best things you can do to improve in your fencing is to fence. But we don't always have the option of having a fencing partner with us to allow us to train or to practice. And so that brings us to what we can do when we're at home, in our backyard, or some other location we can get to try and get some practice in when we're all alone. Constructing a Pell can be pretty easy. You actually can utilize something such as a tree or post that you already have around to utilize. This particular Pell was constructed by utilizing a 4x4 piece of wood, cementing it into a bucket with concrete, and adding a little bit of rubber tire on to help absorb some of the impact, along with some heavy cloth, in this case a rug, wrapped around it and attached. This Pell has certainly seen a lot of years of use in the backyard. Doesn't take anything fancy. When you are striking a solid Pell such as this, you actually don't want to utilize one of your steel fetters or training swords. It's better to utilize something like a piece of rattan or a synthetic weapon, because it's going to do a better job of absorbing the shock when striking a solid object. Something like this does not give when you're hitting it with something like a steel fetter, and you're going to get quite a lot of vibration and negative feedback that's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to make it less likely that you can strike with true intent. And so you actually don't need a metal practice sword and able to utilize a Pell. And so that also makes utilizing a Pell a little cheaper and a little easier to afford. You can pick up a synthetic longsword or synthetic replica weapon for half or less of the cost of a steel sword that you would utilize to fence with. So it makes it easier for you to pick something up to utilize. You can also get a stick or even just a piece of rattan. Rattan is great because it comes with a lot of shock absorption. And so that's something that you can utilize on the cheap, and it's perfectly usable when it comes to your Pell work. When it comes to utilizing a Pell, one of the most important things we can get out of our practice is utilizing that to learn our distance, our management of our threat range. And so the best way to do that is to begin in whatever position you want to throw your cuts in. For now, I'm utilizing a longsword simulator, and so I'll go into Vom Tag, and I want to get to a distance such that all I need to do to strike the Pell is engage with my standard passing step that I'll utilize with most of my cuts. So if I throw a Zornhau into the Pell, this gives me an idea about how far away I need to be to make that cut connect. When engaging in our Pell work, we want to take the time to check our footwork, to check our form. We don't have to speed through our exercises, throwing lots and lots of cuts. We want to make sure whatever cuts we're throwing are done well, that our footwork is appropriate, that our final stance is appropriate. And once you get comfortable with knowing what that distance is with making the simple passing step, I can increase the level of difficulty and start practicing some of my other footwork. I suggest beginning with just simple advancing footwork, get a little bit of distance away from your Pell, and figure out, when taking advancing steps, where you need to get to before chaining in the passing step with your cut. You can also change or move about where you are. Keep in mind, if we're fencing in the round, and both us and our fencing partner are probably going to be moving dynamically throughout the fight. So you can train your body to know its distance better by moving around and continuing to throw cuts, figuring out where do you need to be to make that cut land. We can throw successive combinations of cuts when utilizing our Pell, but the best drill is going to be whatever is done where you're incorporating both your footwork and your cuts. It's a great way to help your body learn what your distance measurement is, which will help improve all of your fencing. Now, if you have fetters that you would like to utilize for Pell practice, instead of utilizing a solid Pell like this, there are other options. A rope hanging from a tree is a great way to have an inexpensive Pell that you can utilize, that you can strike with a steel weapon or a stick or other simulator, whatever it is you want to use, without having to worry about the absorption of shock into the weapon or into your hands. This is a thick corded hemp rope. You can get something like this at a hardware store or at a place that sells rope for exercise use. And all you need is a long enough length that you can tie it off on a tree limb or object that you have in your practice space, and then you can utilize that as your Pell. This gives you something that you can target with your strikes, so you're still learning that distance management while not having to worry so much about putting damage onto your weapon or onto your Pell when you are doing all of your practice. And so you can set something up like this and still practice that movement into your cuts, figuring out how far you need to be to launch an attack, and really start helping your body get used to whatever your threat range and your distance in your fencing is. Thank you for joining me today. Check out a link in this video to see a rundown of the 5 master cuts so that you can start practicing those on a Pell of your own.